Hey guys, Kate Ford's running back at it again. And if you like what you see, please hit the like button. And even more importantly, hit the subscribe button so that we can grow the channel and more people can, get my information. So, yeah. Let's see here. Take these out. What in the hell is going on at Fort Hood? Please, somebody tell me. No, I'm not just talking about the newest case. Because I know you all know about Vanessa Guillen. She had a wonderful family who fought and got her name out there. But what you don't understand is Vanessa Guillen is one of many, 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 many Americans who went to Fort Hood and had some seriously shady shit happen to her. Fort Hood is going back to the 50s. Fort Hood's had problems. But let's see what we can figure out. First and foremost, before Vanessa Guillen was Gregory Morales. And it's weird because like a few days before they found her remains, they found his, but you haven't heard anything about him. He was missing over a year. So, the remains of one of two missing Fort Hood soldiers was discovered Friday in Killeen, Texas, according to officials. The skeletal remains have been positively identified as those of Private Gregory Morales. His remains were discovered in a field near the 3200 block of Florence Road after the U.S. Army Investigation Command. Oh, that went fast. Special agents received information as to the location of his body. They don't say anything about how they got that information. This guy's been missing a year. Who called? What anonymous tip did you get to the location of the body? That Fort Hood covers up a lot of shit, guys. A lot of shit, and they do it with shady lies. Foul play is suspected at this point. Well, no shit. Where was it? Right there. Army special agents are working closely with Killeen, rewarded $25,000 for credible information regarding the circumstances surrounding his death. So the Army's offering $25,000 for info leading to the soldier who vanished just a few days before his discharge. He's being listed as a deserter by the Army, which is BS, especially now that his body has been found. Morales was positively identified using dental records with the assistance of the Fort Hood Dental Health Activity Forensics Team. An autopsy is scheduled to determine the cause and manner of death, and the investigators say they have no credible information that this case is in any way connected to the search. Now, at this time, she hadn't been found yet. A couple of days later, they found her in the same area. So, yeah, we'll get there in a minute. Morales' mother, Kim Weddle, told local television station that investigators found her son's remains. It was a missing soldier, my missing soldier, Greg Weddle. His mother, Kim Weddle, wrote in an email Saturday to Houston ABC KTRK. Police said skeletal remains were found Friday in a field several miles from Fort Hood after a tip to Army investigators. They confirmed the identity Sunday. Morales was last seen driving his personal vehicle off post into the town of Killeen on the night of August 19th, 2019. He was driving a 2018 black Kia Rio with a temporary Texas tag. According to the Army, the vehicle has since been recovered. He was set to be discharged within a couple of days when he disappeared, though his mother told Texas television station that her son's remains were found. Morales still appears to be listed as a deserter by the Army, with the date of desertion 1 month after he was last seen. The last known verbal contact with Morales was on 8/20/2019. Morales was also known as Gregory Weddle, and was processing out of the Army and scheduled to be discharged within a few days when he disappeared. Weddle was his last name before taking his wife's name in marriage. Oh, he took his wife's name. Maybe his wife didn't want his mom's last name. Anyway, Morales is now, oh, sorry. Weddle, Morales' mother, told Texas media her daughter-in-law tracked down his vehicle on Carfax. It was in Dallas this December and now held by Army CID. She also does not believe her son would have intentionally vanished, given that he was set to be discharged within days. Of course, what it would tell me is that they also suspect something happened at this point beyond him just going AWOL. Well, yeah, now that they found a body that they say is foul play. And then it says, this is all about Vanessa Guillen. You guys know what happened to her. She went missing, but here, we'll get to what happened to her now. And I want to talk about Weddle's mother really quick, because Weddle's mother was somebody tried to attempt to extort her while he was missing. So, there we go. FBI is investigating an attempt to extort money from the mother of missing Fort Hood Private Morales, 23, who's assigned to the 150th Composite Transportation Company and was last seen on August 19th. Dead or alive, I'd really like to know what's up with him, Morales' mother said. She's working with authorities while in Oklahoma. On Thursday, she found out the FBI is stepping in after she received a Facebook message that claimed her son was being held hostage for money that he owed someone. First, they asked me how much I could pay. Oh, that's like, as a mother, that's sick. I'm just sick to my stomach thinking about that, because you don't know. And so you can't take a risk of just blowing it off because you just don't know. And your kid's been missing a year, and he's an adult, so he's been doing adult things. Even though he's your kid, you think you know everything. Maybe he got himself in the situation where he did owe somebody some type of money. So you start to think, well, maybe this is all real. That had to be hard, I'll tell you that. First, they asked me how much I could pay. I came back with $15,000. Dinger. She got an email saying he had Greg and he was fine, but they're going to kill him in 10 days if he didn't have the money. The email included an edited picture of her son's face. She says on someone else's body in an unfamiliar living room. The picture had Wednesday's date stamped in the corner, but the request didn't stop there. I had another lady email me saying she would give the address where he's being held at for 2 Bitcoins. That translates to about $21,000. The FBI confirms it's assisting with the investigation, while the agency says it often sees what it calls virtual kidnapping schemes in cases along the U.S.-Mexico border in which scammers target vulnerable people, claiming to be holding missing loved ones and demanding ransom. The publicity that is supposed to help find a missing person can also make their families a target, very much so. What if one of their family members were missing? Would they want people throwing out false things or trying to extort money from them just because they know I'm desperate for a word of my child, Weddle said. Despite the risk, Weddle is making sure her son's case is not forgotten as she waits to hear for someone who truly knows what's happened to him. She says anyone with information on her son's whereabouts should call the police. Yeah, okay, so now in the same week, both sets of those soldiers' remains were found in the same area. And this was a very remote, isolated, you don't go there unless you're trying to bury a body type area. So let's talk about what happened with Vanessa real quick, because we all know this didn't end very well. Well, there we go. All right, so let's talk about this. Because this isn't as cut and dry as they're trying to tell you. This girl was missing for, I believe, almost a month before her family got the army to actually pay attention. And when I mean missing, I'm not talking about missing off base. Vanessa Guillen went missing on base, where there's counts that are supposed to be occurring every shift. Every soldier is supposed to be accounted for and cleared. And the person that was in charge of doing that admitted to lying and never having seen Vanessa, but having marked her down as present. So first and foremost, a soldier went missing in a place where no civilian has a right to even search. It's not as if the Guillen family could get a search party and head inside Fort Hood and start searching for Vanessa, because that wasn't an option to them. However, that's where she went missing. She was called into work suspiciously. It was her night off. She was called into work, and when called in, she then was called to, she worked in an armory part. She was called to another armory by this specialist Aaron Robinson. He's suspected of being someone who had sexually harassed her recently. So I think she left these things in the armory for a reason. She left her bunk key, her key to her bunk on base, She left her bunk key, her cell phone, something else, maybe her purse. I don't remember. There was a couple of very important things that girls just don't leave behind. Even if we're just running one place to the, and coming right back, we usually take those things with us. However, I feel like she was already skittish about him, and when he called her from the other armory to come over and check a serial number, I think she was nervous. And she had every right to be, because when she got there, Aaron Robinson had found out either one of two things. His little girlfriend says that Vanessa was going to turn in their relationship. The girlfriend, who we'll get to in a minute, is married to another soldier at Fort Hood. And so apparently, I don't know why, but Vanessa was going to, why she would even care, but supposedly, according to Aaron Robinson's girlfriend, which I believe that's what Aaron told her. I believe Aaron said, that this girl is going to tell on us, and that's how he got her involved. But the reality is, I believe Aaron was reported for sexually harassing her, and he was afraid he was going to lose everything. And then once his girlfriend found out he was hitting on another girl, he'd lose her too. So he called her over to the army room and beat her in the head with the hammer in the armory room. This is like Fort Hood, guys, a military base. How many cameras could you imagine there being on a military base? Right. So how did this man get away with bludgeoning this girl with a hammer, right? Dismembering her with a machete, putting her inside what's called a tough box, all without anyone ever walking into that room. Even if he was able to kill her, dismember her, and get her in the box, how did he clean the armory room up again without anyone ever noticing him? This is why the family feels that there's a cover-up going on the inside, because that they don't feel Robinson could have performed all of these things alone in the hour and some change that they're saying he did it in. Yeah, an hour and some change. That's what they're saying. He did all of that. Then he took the body. He was spotted carrying the tough case, or not carrying it, wheeling it to his car, and someone said he could barely get it in, but he got it in, and then he went with the girlfriend to the same place, pretty much, where they found Morales, and they buried they dug 3 different holes. They buried the bodies, pieces of the body, after attempting to set them on fire. 3 days later, they came back with concrete, attempted to set the body parts on fire again when it didn't work, and then mixed concrete with the remains. So the Guillen family got 3 piles of concrete and mixed in with bones back of their daughter. Congratulations. And he blew his head off. So the only person that's going to pay for this crime is that the girlfriend that was sick enough to go help him bury this girl. And the whole world is going to put the blame on her because his pussy ass blew his brains out. That's, I mean, breaking it down. Keep going. Let's keep going. There's more. This Fort Hood is not good, guys. Oh, wrong one. There we go. This one. Oops. Oh, no, already that one. Here we go. So I was checking on some things because somebody told me that there was a lot of when I was doing the Vanessa case, I said, is this something prevalent? Because if you go to hashtag I am Vanessa Guillen, you see, there's tons of female soldiers making their statement that they've been sexually abused or harassed while on base and that the Army covers it up or does nothing. So I wanted to kind of know how much of that went down on Fort Hood. Oh, by the way, look, over here to the right, I just saw this. Body of Fort Hood soldier found near base marks the third death in a month. Anyway. Wow. So, as I was saying, I wanted to see how prevalent this was, and I found that 14 people were arrested in a 2-day sex trafficking and prostitution sting, according to the Temple Police Department and Bell County Sheriff's Department. When the 12 Johns were arrested on March 13th and 14th for agreeing to engage in sex acts for free. Well, what the hell? How is that even? I thought the whole point of catching somebody in a prostitution sting was there had to be a money transfer. Am I right or wrong? Leave it in the comments. I'm pretty sure you got to have a money transfer because it's just like a drug sale. Like you can't get somebody on a sale unless they give you the money. You can't get somebody for trying to hire a hitman until you give them the down payment. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to provide the intent. The intent is the money. So, I mean, I don't see what man wouldn't agree to engage in sex acts for free. 6 of the 12 were active duty enlisted soldiers at Fort Hood. And Fort Hood is located in Killeen, Texas, halfway between Waco and Austin. 2 females were arrested for prostitution, which is a Class A misdemeanor. The 2 females were also on probation for felony narcotics charges. Aware Central Texas, a civilian agency that advocates and provides resources to victims of sex trafficking, also assisted in this operation. 14 people arrested. Pimp and prostitution sting that was conducted. Keep going. TPD, the Violent Crime Enforcement Squad, released a statement about the situation. This operation hopefully sends a message that these acts will not be tolerated in our city and county. I just don't understand. Here we go. This isn't the first time Fort Hood's received allegations of sexual harassment. Just this week, authorities announced discovery of human remains believed to be missing Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen. She went missing on the 22nd and confided in family members that she was being sexually harassed by a sergeant who was at the military base. 2 months after her disappearance, Fort Hood officials launched an investigation into the 20-year-old soldier's claims. In 2015, Army Sergeant Gregory McQueen pleaded guilty to over a dozen military charges after establishing a prostitution ring at Fort Hood. According to AP, McQueen had admitted to recruiting 3 low-ranking female soldiers into the ring. McQueen, who had previously worked as a victim's advocate on the base, was sentenced to 2 years in prison and demoted and dishonorably discharged. Oh, God. 9-year-old Texas boy rescued from human trafficker who tried to sell him. It's terrible. I got a video that's all about that Wayfair stuff. I'm working on it right after this, guys. So keep checking back on my channel tonight. I'm gonna try to get it up tonight. It's not just about that Wayfair stuff, but I was asked to look into that, and I've been spending days and days. So anyway, Fort Hood is not just known for missing soldiers and missing soldiers and sexual harassment and dead bodies. But again, they have a huge history of training incidents, guys. Like every time I would type in Fort Hood incidents, I would have to go through, a laundry list of training incidents before I would get to something that, involved, say, sexual harassment or a soldier committing crimes off of base. So this says it's been 4 years since a vehicle rollover killed 8 soldiers and a cadet and injured 3 others on Fort Hood. However, the Army is still not disclosing the findings of the crash investigation. The 9 died on June 2nd, 2016, when their truck overturned in a flash flood while the vehicle was crossing Owl Creek into a Fort Hood training area. Those who died were Staff Sergeant Miguel Colin Vasquez, Specialist Christine Faith Armstrong, 27, of California, Florida residents PFC Brandon Austin Banner, 22, and PFC Zachary Nathan Fuller, 23. Private Isaac Lee De Leon of Texas, Private Eddie Ray Lauren Gates, 20, of North Carolina, New Jersey native, Private Taishina Lynette James, 21, Specialist Yingming Soon, 25, of California, Cadet Mitchell Alexander Winey of the United States Military Academy at West Point, who was from Indiana. Damn, that was hard. Okay. Rest in peace. There were 2 investigations, the unit investigation, which usually begins immediately, and an Army investigation. The unit investigation usually relies on witness statements, while the Army investigation includes details such as mechanical issues and violations of Army regulations. The original investigation done by the unit concluded the accident was caused by decisions made by Colin Vasquez. The senior ranking soldier was on a training mission when the truck overturned. The unit report, known as the Army Regulation 15-6, was conducted by the 3rd Battalion. Oh, that's a lot. Anyway, conducted by Charles Young. It's unclear whether this accident will be investigated or whether the Army's redacted investigation findings will see the light of day. Spokesman stated the agency could not yet define the parameters of this investigation. Why did the Army fail to conduct solid interviews with witnesses? How did the Army investigation handle discrepancies in the accounts of what happened? Is the Army blaming the staff sergeant? Who decided to conduct training in the heavy storm? Were training leaders aware of the flash flood warnings for that morning? All right, so that's that, guys. I just wanted to put up one incident of one example of a horrific training incident there, because that's the one. But you can think of a couple other ones, oh shoot. Anyway, you can think of a couple other ones too. Like there was the ones with the helicopter and things like that. There's the helicopter. I believe they had 9 soldiers in it, maybe. All right, so there's not a lot on this, and I haven't been able to find out much more information on this, even though it's super old, 2002. So that's probably why. But it goes along with everything else I've been saying with Fort Hood. So, 21-year-old soldier from Addison formally charged Tuesday in the death of a newlywed rap musician, as well as attacks on 3 other people, Army officials say. Specialist M. Rees, assigned to Fort Hood, was being held in Bell County Confinement Facility while awaiting trial by military court-martial. Rees is accused of killing 20-year-old rapper Eric Deshaun Davis, a father of 3, outside of his home in Killeen on April 1st, and of attempted murder for trying to kill a Fort Hood soldier and his wife at their residence later that evening. Rees is accused of raping and sodomizing a female soldier January 9th in her barracks at Fort Hood. Agents with the Army Criminal Investigation Command said they linked Rees to the rape while investigating the shootings. Police told the Austin American-Statesman that Davis was killed after 3 intoxicated Fort Hood soldiers in a vehicle started talking to him in his neighborhood. Detective says they're not sure whether there was an argument, but they said Rees shot Davis in the arm and the bullet traveled to his chest. Investigators said Davis didn't know any of the soldiers. Davis' first CD, called Players Dynasty, will be released in June. Rees entered the Army in 1999 and has been assigned to Fort Hood since 2001, so for a year. This is it right here. So if you don't know, there was 2 terrorist attacks on Fort Hood, and one of them was really, really like they both actually were connected. And if you actually read the Senate report on it, I believe it's the Senate report I downloaded. Maybe it was. There was a huge report done on the accident that I just talked about, the rollover accident, and the 2 shootings, and how they all have some connection. Okay, and the 2 shootings. I don't know if it's going to say on here. Let's see. I don't want to just guess. So let's see. Years after Fort Hood experienced a second active shooter rampage, it remains difficult to put words into and comprehend why acts of violence occur in a tight-knit military community. As soldiers, families, and Texas lawmakers gather to honor and pay respect to 3 service members killed and 12 wounded in last year's April 2nd mass shooting by Specialist Ivan Lopez, who took his own life after being confronted by military police. There's still no indication that this violent act could have been prevented by identifying early warning signs. The community is still emotionally raw. Okay, here's this first one. This is the first shooting, guys. A community still emotionally raw from Nidal Hassan shooting that occurred in November of 2009. The second rampage came 9 months after Hassan's conviction and death. 9 months after he got a death sentence, the next shooter. Okay, so these 2 horrific mass shootings are the most publicized incidents of violent crime at a military post. And the same military post, Fort Hood. Convenient. For years, news organizations have capitalized on market research. If it bleeds, it leads. It's intended to feed the masses, but the traumatic stress included war-torn and military mad. I need reading glasses. Don't tell me this. Mentally mad veteran narrative is nearly the first assumption digested as fact. Roses left for shooting victims are seen at the feet of Lieutenant General Mark Milley and U.S. Senator John Cornyn and other military. Thursday, April 3rd, 2014, in Fort Hood, Texas, AP. Oh, it's photos. They got all the roses on the floor. Despite Fort Hood's quality training areas, comprehensive base resources, legendary Army units, and genuine Texas hospitality, it's often pegged by soldiers Army-wide as the less than desirable duty station due to the perception of ongoing crime and the idea that it's a black hole where careers get stuck. Everybody hates the thought of going to Fort Hood because basically any plan that you had to stick out, to climb above your peers, and actually have it mean something, account for you, this is the one place that you work where it doesn't count for you, is basically what they're saying. So, a former Fort Hood senior non-commissioned officer spent 11 years after the installation. Everyone could tell a story of something bad that happened at Fort Hood. See, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Does this place have like bad luck, or is this place just genuinely evil? Okay, let's do this. This is the end, guys. Let's see. At the end, after last year's Fort Hood shooting, Marine Corps veteran Thomas Givens Neff wrote in an opinion piece pointing to the divide between the tragic isolated shooting and the media's PTSD-fueled narrative. Even in the absence of any evidence that the shooter, Ivan Lopez, suffered from PTSD, news networks let it dribble out from the beginning and end of their sentences. The Huffington Post awarded a Pulitzer Prize for its work on veterans in 2012, used PTSD-related violence to build an horribly inaccurate map that portrayed veterans as inherently violent population, when it wasn't. That graphic was later retracted. His piece was pointed out to McClatchy's PTS Hot Zone Locator map, linking veterans to criminals. Wow. So they had like a map where they were keeping track of veterans with this PTSD, and it wasn't looked at like a tragic side effect of the war. It was looked at like you're a criminal now. All right, so let's see here. When you display the behaviors of taking bribes, scamming the military out of millions of dollars, or sexually harassing and assaulting those who you are charged with protecting, or something as simple as falsifying and pencil whipping training documents, then you have to expect that those in lower positions will pick and choose which rules they want to follow, said the Air Force TACP senior. Picking and choosing which rules to follow, compounded with potential serious mental health illnesses that go undetected or untreated, and poorly pointed moral compass, has military leaders continually searching for answers and solutions to these problems. Oh, all right, this stuff on the floor. Anyway, so I don't really have much more on this right now. I started working on the Wayfair thing, but I just want to ask yourself: don't this seem a little weird? Isn't there more to this? Is the army hiding something? Is the Guillen family right? Because in all honesty, like all they wanted was for the army to look for their daughter who was on the base. Their history isn't like it's some clean, we've never had any issues here type stuff. This place had a lot of problems, and the Guillen family knew what it was talking about. And I don't think they would have ever got answers if they didn't raise the hell that they raised. So congratulations on them for getting the answers that they needed to get and bringing their daughter home, no matter how they had to do it. Hey, check back for my Wayfair video tonight. It's not just on Wayfair; it's on the whole trafficking thing, period. And I'm going to premiere it. And if you guys want to go live and talk about it afterwards, I'm going to do it. I'm going to break down and go live.